You are in for an interesting ride.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another ET Newsroom interview. This is staying with the Eclectic album theme. I'm speaking to John Martyn, classical guitarist who also played for ex-President Jimmy Carter. And on the album, you can hear the beautiful song A Jasmine Rain, played by John, as the album is multifaceted. It's not just music, it's voice, and you will hear me reading a letter to Jimmy Carter, telling about the incredible things happening on his property of UFOs. And he said, and then there was the mothership. So I'm looking forward to talking with John again and catching up with the latest things that has been going on. He recently sent me a video which shows a compilation of amazing sky activity of all kinds of different traffic, let's say. These guys also appreciate John's incredible communication. He uses telepathy and music with love, and they in return not only show up on his property or around abouts, they also leave their signature calling card in the sky, in the clouds, and it's a heart. I can't think of anything lovelier. Enjoy this wonderful interview with John Martyn. So I've asked John to tell us a little bit about his backstory, his history, about his music, where that love came from, and also about the ET energy. And he also has a fabulous book coming out later on in 2023. So, John, welcome to the ET Newsroom, and do tell us a little bit about your history.
And it's such a pleasure to see you and to be with you today. I'm a classically trained guitarist, and I've loved music my whole life, and it's just a very integral part of my spirit and my being. And I've been playing guitar for over 50 years now, and I was actually having dinner with President Carter in Toledo, Spain, and the subject of UFOs came up, and he was very open about it. And he spoke of his experience in South Georgia when a very bright, luminous object came to him while he was waiting outside he was going to give a speech at a Lions Club meeting, and he couldn't explain the energy, and it was just an amazing thing to him. And I told him at that time I'd had a single event when I was younger. My sister and I had a golden energy that came over our neighborhood, and he wasn't judgmental about it, and he was very open to the idea. And so, Joanna, I took that lovely experience with a very dear friend and a hero of mine, and I coupled that with Close Encounters of the Third Kind that used music as a communication tool. And I put those two ideas together, and I just made the conscious effort and thought to go out on my deck and start playing music to the universe and projecting positive thought and love and these beautiful pieces that are so important to me into the universe. And within 2 or 3 sessions, a beautiful purple dome shaped plasma craft came over my home and had a pink ring around the bottom third of the bell. And it was just magnificent. And it hovered over my home, and I went inside. All the alarms were going off in the house, and I got Karen, and she came outside, and we both just watched this beautiful craft that was silently hovering over our home and had this beautiful feminine energy to it. And it was just so positive and loving. And it slowly just kind of went away, and probably about 10 miles an hour, is about 100 feet up in the air. It was just absolutely amazing. And so I just decided, well, I think this might really be working. And I was just so amazed by that experience that I just kept going out on my deck with the same idea and the same concept of, I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know the process, but I did it anyway. I was just playing my music and sending positive thought and love into the universe. And a few days later, there were 4 metallic craft that came in over my courtyard, 2 sets of 2 spinning metallic craft. And I went in to get my camera, and I came back, and they were gone. I thought they might stay like the other one did, but they didn't. But it was just absolutely amazing. So I just kept playing, and probably 10 days later, I have a little dog named Bodhi. He's a rescue, and I walk him all the time. And I'd been playing guitar out on my deck, and we were walking back into the neighborhood, and 2 impossibly large craft came over my courtyard. One was in the shape of a cross with equal length arms and a crescent, and they were at a 45-degree angle, and they were the size of office buildings slowly going over my home. And it was just amazing. I mean, just absolutely amazing. And I went in to get my camera and I came back out and I was fumbling with the camera, and very clearly in my mind, they said, please don't take her picture. We'll give you something you can take a picture of. And about 10 days later, I was going out. I'll say I didn't go around the edge of the building that we live in. You know, you would think I would run around, but I was just kind of overcome with that experience. And about 10 days later, I was going to a movie with a neighbor of mine, and I was walking out of my driveway and I heard a look over here, and there was a beautiful heart-shaped cloud that was created right in my courtyard. And that's on the cover of my book that you and I spoke about. I should write a book and put the heart-shaped cloud on it. And that's exactly what I've done.
When you and your sister had that first experience, what sort of age would you be? Because it always seems to be a really defining moment.
I was about 14. And it's interesting. A friend of mine has a guitar, actually a music shop down the street. And he's been in, I used to teach for him many, many years ago. And he said he saw the same craft, that he feels like it was the same one, and just beautiful, large golden craft that went over a large shopping center in about the same time. So I really feel it the same craft. So it was, it was a very large event for my town at that time. But yeah, it made a very big impression on me. I've always been so interested in higher intelligences. And
did you find any changes in any of your attributes? I mean, I don't know if you had anything when you were younger, actually. If you did, that would be great to hear, or maybe even your family, because we know that sometimes there are generational connections. Whether there were some different sharpened, heightened attributes that you would have noticed that you thought,
well, it's interesting. My father's an aeronautical engineer, and he worked for Lockheed. And he worked on so many, he was just very high up in his field. And he worked on the airplane was called the C-5A, and the wings were cracking. And he led an entire group of engineers, and he successfully saved that aircraft. And at the end of that project, he invited me to take a tour of Lockheed. He'd never done that before. It was just me, not any of my siblings, but just me. And we walked into the giant hangar. They first asked me a number of questions. I can't remember what they asked me, but I tried to answer as well as I could. And then we had a tour. It was just my dad and me. And it was there was a big black curtain in the hangar. And a man picked up the curtain. He said, "This is Skunk Works. Do you want to see what we do?" And he dropped it very quickly. And I don't recall anything after that. And my father quit Lockheed within a week or two after that. And we had very difficult times. And I spoke with Whitley Strieber, who's a very dear friend, and he was brought into some projects when he was the same age, when he lived in Texas. And I'm pretty sure that they were wanting me to be in one of these projects too. And my dad said no. And so, but I know he told me that the military is 100 years more. Way back then, he told me that the military is 100 years more advanced than the public knows. And as a mathematician, there's a lot of thought and contemplation on that particular statement. So we've had that within within my family for a long time.
Oh, that's fascinating. And did you get to see what was under that top curtain?
I may have, but I didn't remember. And part of this whole experience is that, I think they were doing a lot of projects back then that we still today don't know about.
I have no doubt. And I absolutely concur about the 100 years, probably at least ahead. I mean, when you think of the Canadian Wilbert B. Smith, Tesla, and Thomas Townsend Brown, all of their incredible, and Ralph Ring, all of those people, and they knew something. I remember just reading about Wilbert Smith, who obviously had some piece of technology that he had linked with ET. And when he knew he was dying, he said to his wife, "I'm going to have to be destroyed because humanity is not ready." hopefully this stuff will come in within our lifetime still, and we will flip the energy to the light and anchor it in.
I really think that you're correct on that, Joanna. And that's really a lot of the drive that I have, is that, I want the public to know that we all have this ability to go out and interact with the intelligences and just in a loving and positive way. And I think when a certain number of us are willing to do that and on a regular basis, then it will raise the consciousness of our society. And then we won't be seen as, this very dangerous civilization. We'll be ready for this, because there's a dark side to these technologies. And if we can somehow make it past this point where somebody is going to try to get these technologies and use them in a, disastrous way, then I think we can really move into a new era for humanity.
Yes, I'm absolutely sure. I am aware of all the saber rattling and chaos that is currently being rained down currently, but it's just holding the light within that, being in the eye of the storm. And I feel very confident and positive. But like you, that's what we have to do, because it's an energetic template we're holding, which is the universal energetic life stream.
Absolutely. And, we should have had this 100 years ago, or, at least 50 years ago. But, we've struggled. And I think there's been so much misery in this that's been unnecessary. And it's definitely time for this to move to this newer level, this higher dimension, a greater space for creativity and love and positive thought, and these new technologies will just blossom, and we can heal all of the problems of humanity and all of nature and the earth itself, and welcome in all of these other beautiful civilizations that are ready for us to make that leap. And I do it every night. I've made it a daily practice to go. I have a little park right next door. Sometimes when I'm walking out the door, they're just waiting for me. These beautiful energies, and they're my friends, they're my family, and I talk to them all the time. And if I don't see them, I say, I hope hope everyone's doing well. And if I have a wonderful thing, I share it with them. If I have a challenge, I share it with them as well. And we have an agreement to meet about the same time. Most nights, there's some nights I can't make it, and I'll say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it. And they do the same. I can feel when they have obligations somewhere else, but it's well beyond the CE5, Joanna. This is a collective experience that we share. And to me, it can really move the possibility of contact if we're willing to make the effort. And it's not hard. It's easy, and it's fun, and it's really so positive and pleasant.
And really quite exciting. So just to pick up in what you said when I asked about were there any other attributes that you noticed or heightened awareness or abilities from the 14-year-old sighting?
I think I became very serious about classical music and guitar around that time. I'd been playing for a number of years, but that's when I really kind of focused in on this art music that is very challenging, but incredibly beautiful and very satisfying. And it's resonated, I think, very deeply with our star family. When I play, because I've played out on my deck for years, but not with a distinct thought in mind that I wanted to project. And it goes well beyond our local area here on Earth. I mean, it's dimensional, and I think that's what draws in these beautiful energies from, it could be any place within the universe as far as I'm concerned.
Have you had mainly telepathic communication, John, or has there been any physical interaction?
Yes, I've had I sent you a picture. It was Easter Monday, 2019. A portal opened and this beautiful entity came through. This was 2019. And it was still kind of early for me at this level of interaction. And so I was able to take 5 pictures of this beautiful, beautiful being. And it was, tied into, I think, a rather holy period of time as well. And it was just, the energy was so beautiful, but I turned away from it because, when you're in this dimension, it's a little difficult to fully grasp when you see something that's absolutely from another plane or another dimension. And so I turned away. I was able to get 5 pictures, and I contemplated it that the entire day. I was going, well, I wonder why I looked away from this beautiful being. And I went to the park that night, and a golden energy dropped down to treetop level. And I apologized. I said, I'm really sorry that I was not able to give that beautiful entity the time it deserved. And the golden energy just expanded many, many times, understanding that it's a challenge for us. And to me, that was one of the more incredible experiences. And that kind of opened up a place within my heart to kind of allow this experience to be, very deep. And I think it has a lot of implications for others to have this same kind of experience if they're open to it.
Can you just give us a verbal description of what you saw?
Yeah, it was about probably 10 or 12 feet tall, and it was a human shape. One of the legs was longer than the other. It was it was barely in our dimension of vaporous type being, but you could see wings on the back of the shoulders. And then the portal itself was kind of an upside down heart shape that it came through. And so it's the being itself and the portal that it came through, which was, it was an amazing thing. And they've done that many times for me. I've been through challenging times, and they'll make, I call them aeroglyphs, Joanna, when they make these lovely, really incredible, deeply meaningful signs with clouds. I was going through a very difficult period. I was the executor of an estate, and it was just really, really hard. And they made a beautiful heart-shaped cloud with a little piece taken out, just an impacted heart, not realizing that I was challenged. And you can see a craft barely in our dimension below it. And they've had, there's like my face looking up from a cloud, and they told me that was me looking up at them. And I've had just this huge collection of them now, and I'm always looking, and they create some really lovely things. And I've actually got a few words on film that I've got, and I get a good number of auditory communication from them. I was in deep meditation at one point, and I was getting peace to all, peace to all, peace to all, over and over. So I wrote a piece of music called Peace to All, and I'll give that to you as well, so we can share that. But it's just been such a wonderful experience, and I hope everyone will try in their own way, because each one of us are so absolutely unique in this universe. And when we recognize that, and when we share what's important to us with the universe, it is instantly recognized. The impetus of my book is called The Universe Loves You, and they gave me that title. And I was thinking maybe it should be The Loving Universe, or nope. That's not what we said. We said The Universe Loves You, and that's the name of my book. And it's just been encapsulated with that beautiful heart-shaped cloud and every interaction I have, which is in the thousands by now.
And that's wonderful. And that you've just jogged a memory that I'd forgotten about, and I'll just share it quickly here. I was sitting in traffic. This is some years ago. I looked up at the cloudy sky. I was thinking about Sixto Paz Wells, the Peruvian American contactee who does worldwide communications and sharing of his experiences. I think he was coming over to the UK, and I was going to be seeing him with my friends. So he was in my thoughts, and he's such, like yourself, John, such a loving, beautiful soul. It just emanates from him. And as I was looking up at the sky, there was like a cookie cutter heart, perfect heart, so crisp. Not a wisp of a cloud, and there's this perfect cookie cut heart out. I went, oh.
That was for you specifically.
It was beautiful.
That was created for you, absolutely. And Jonah, that's the next step, is when you recognize and you integrate that was actually created for me by the higher intelligences. They're honoring you, they're honoring your work, and because you have done some magnificent work here on this plane, and they're recognizing that. The more you recognize, that's really one of the chapters in the book is, you must acknowledge that, that you're deserving of this, and that, the universe is giving you a great gift.
Thinking about the cookie cutter heart in the cloud, Also, during that period of time, it probably quite close to it, I remember coming down the motorway from my work. So we're in the same sort of year and maybe even months. There was a bank of lenticular clouds. And I don't mean there was one. I mean, there must have been 5, 6 or 7. So many. I mean, and maybe I've seen the odd one here and there, but there was a whole raft of them. Are you who I think you are?
Absolutely. That's how you do it. They've made beautiful faces of themselves. It's absolutely what it is. Well, one time I was walking back in the neighborhood and there was a dragon face and the shoulder, and you could see the wings starting from the back from a cloud. And it was incredible. I couldn't believe it. And didn't fully understand it. But then a friend of mine said, well, the dragon denotes the growth of your soul.
Oh,
And,
lovely.
and there's a lot of interpretation. One interesting thing when I told you about the cross and the crescent that came over, at the same time, of just a few months prior and numerous times, there are numerous crop circles with cross and crescent shapes as the main element of the crop circle. And then with the heart-shaped cloud. And then I had a perfect star-shaped cloud that they made for me. All of these are on my YouTube channel, John Martin, UFO and ET Intelligences. I have hundreds of videos now that I put up. And part of the book is going to be an ebook initially, because I want it to be interactive. So there's hyperlinks, if you read it on a Kindle or your phone or whatever, and just hit the link, it will go directly to my YouTube with the corresponding video that is being described in the book. And so I think that when you're speaking in this realm, I think it helps to have concrete evidence as well. And I'm trying to incorporate as much of that as I can. Whitley Strieber did the foreword to my book, and he did a beautiful job on it. And so I'm very excited about getting
as well. And the other thing I want to say about the cross, the book I wrote with Bill Brooks, also known as Mike Smith now, he called me in 2018 and he told me that he was sitting in traffic and he was in the locale of where he'd had many, many childhood experiences, and they were intense. He said, you'll never believe it. And I've got a recording of him talking to me on the phone about it. And he said there was this huge cross that hung over the woods where he had some experiences. And he said, as he was again sitting in traffic, he said sort of changed as he sort of edged forward, the shape changed from a cross to I think a cylinder, something like that, and then maybe a disc, and it was changing quite a lot, and it was in the exact spot. I mean, how amazing is that?
Exactly. That is a message that they're sending to him specifically. I had a beautiful heart that was created. Much of what I see happens at my little park next door, because that's the tapestry, the canvas that they use to create their beautiful art and where we interact. And there was a beautiful heart with the sun directly behind it. And I walked around the lake with my dog, and by the time it came over, it had turned into this beautiful dove with the sun directly behind it. Once this connection is made and you acknowledge it, the depth of experience is limitless, I think.
Yes, I think you're right. And I always remember, and I do tell this story sometimes, I consider myself an experiencer, but since doing this work publicly, I think, or creating a platform, things have happened. Some quite challenging things, but that's all right. This one time, I was walking my little doggy at the time, and it was the very night that I was starting the Amash Files, which was the podcast show that I did in 2014, probably the first week of October. And I was coming around, just finishing the walk. My show was 11 till 1 a.m. It was about 10 o'clock at night. And I was looking up and I saw the Orion's belt, and I just put a thought. I said, oh, come on, you guys, can't you just, like wave, say hello, let me know you see me, hear me, and I'm doing my show. So it'd be nice to say something about that. As I was watching the sky, the star on the left suddenly shot off left, out of my range of view. The star in the middle shot forward, out of my range of view. And the one on the right went right and stayed within my range of view. And I went, okay, then, all right, oh my goodness. So that was a great little story to tell for my inaugural show.
Well, you were speaking directly to them, and they recognize. That's what I do all the time.
Never
And
had that before or since, I have to say, but it's kind of given me the nudge that they definitely are tuned in.
well,
They're not aware.
that's the kind of and that's a great experience you had, and I have that all the time, and it's amazing. I had one. It's on this video that I sent to you. I just said, I'm just sitting here. I'm filming randomly, but it's never random, is it, dear friends? And this craft, it's a winged craft, came in, and then it stops about halfway through the eyepiece I was looking through, and then it took a left and did these incredible aerobatics, and then flew out of the eyepiece range. And then there was another energy way behind it that I was filming just a minute later, and you can see it fly by it. And I have that all the time. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I mean, oftentimes I'll have one that I'm filming, and they'll be chased by another one. I
looked at some of the footage, John, of the compilation you put together. Some of them are so fast, aren't they? Oh my goodness, they look like they're racing. Some of them.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and they drop down to treetop level. Some of the really bright, beautiful. I feel like some of those are the deep space craft, and when they come into our airspace, I think they illuminate because of the plasma aspect of the craft, and some of them are so bright, and it's just amazing. And each year is a little different. The aeroglyphs were, there was a year where that was kind of the main thing that they did, were the aeroglyphs. I mean, I had other experiences, but then each year has its own characteristic to it that I appreciate. And when I don't see them, I just enjoy being outside, and I say I look forward to seeing you again. What I do, Joanne, when I sit down early on, I would do this. I would say, it's John Martin, your guitarist friend. I've played for President Carter, and Whitley Strieber's my friend, and Joanna Summerscales. I mentioned you, of course, and all of the other people that are important in this field. And when I do that, they recognize that, and they come in, and we just have a lovely 45 minutes to an hour. I don't spend all night out there, because I do it every night. Instead of watching television for an hour, just walk outside and interact with the universe. And it is so rewarding.
So, John, one of the other things I wanted to ask you, just going back to the family, is I just wondered if your family were very open, as a child growing up with your siblings, or whether even your dad spoke very much to you privately or collectively as a family unit about the UFO and other intelligence side of life.
No, there was really no discussion growing up about that subject, really. I mean, I had my own personal interest in it, and my sister and I shared that experience.
It's interesting, isn't it? This family's link. I mean, I didn't have anything like that. My mother was particularly open and aware, and somehow had a knowing about things. But I was really not into all of this so much as health and wellness and spirituality when she was around. Does your sister talk about it at all? The one who was with you when you were 14 to see this?
She remembers it vividly. Yes, she brings it up on occasion. She's very interested in the work I'm doing now too. She thinks it's something that is definitely time for this sort of work to be recognized and advanced, and just to see where the field is actually going, because so much of what you get is what happened 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, and that's interesting. Yeah. But this is right now. This is today. And when we're finished, I'll go outside and I'll interact again. I felt so strongly about this that I wrote to President Carter about my experiences. And you included that in the Eclectia album, and I'm so grateful that you did that.
John Martin, classical guitarist, composer, and arranger who features on the E.T. album Eclectia, has given me permission to share some of the contents of a private letter, as I thought you too would find this of interest. This letter was the result of some correspondence between John and President Jimmy Carter when they'd had occasion to speak about UFOs. This was President Carter's response to John's account. He says, "John, thanks for the CDs, photos, and the wonderful account. Best wishes, Jimmy Carter." John writes, "As a musician for nearly the past 50 years, I can share with you, and with great confidence, music is the universal language. In 2013, I made the conscious effort to perform music with the intent of projecting positive thoughts and musical works into the universe. On only my second session of performing classical, baroque, romantic, impressionist and original works on classical guitar out on my deck, and again with the conscious thought of projecting music, positive thought, peace and love into the universe, an incredible event occurred. A purple, bell-shaped, luminous craft with a pink, rotating ring circling outside the bottom third of the bell silently floated directly above our home. All the alarms in the house, including the refrigerator, were going off. A surge protector on my musical equipment began smoking. My significant other saw the craft with me as it slowly crossed over us and then disappeared behind the tree line. It was at an altitude of no more than a couple of 100 feet above us. It was breathtaking. A few days later, 4 craft, in 2 sets of 2 and in a perfect line, were silently spinning above our courtyard. A few days after that, the big ones came." Toward the end of the letter, John goes on to say, "As a religious person, I feel these experiences are more correctly interpreted as universal in nature, as opposed to a religious experience."
And I have to say, it was a little unnerving for me to write to my friend about this issue, because I didn't know how he would respond, but he wrote back, made a beautiful note at the top of the letter. And to me, that was just another point of reference that, I'm doing the right thing and I should move forward. And that's what I've done.
I was just interviewing another Eclectia album contributor, and that was Canadian Kevin Estrella. And he talked about how the Aponte that he's interacting with, how they have worked with him. One of his teachers, her speciality was working with the cetaceans and whales, and they said it was just the beginner's segment of music, and said he got this image of a huge whale brain being stuffed into his little brain.
That's funny.
It's very funny. And then the interesting thing is, he said, "Jan, you have no idea. It took about 9 months to percolate through and integrate into my mind. And then I had this song come in, and also this phrase, 'Do you hear me?' I thought, oh my goodness, it's like the cry of the universe, isn't it? It's so beautiful. It opened his heart. Have you had any similar experiences?"
Yeah, Kevin is an incredible musician, and what an important experiencer he is. And he's a very dear friend, and just fascinated by his interactions with the Aponte, who come see him when he's playing and come to his apartment. And he's just an amazing person. And I've had a number of things. I was at the park, and they just very clearly, because it's another person's voice in your mind just saying, "Embrace abundance." And I just thought that was a lovely thought. And it just came from really nowhere. And it was from them. And there's just a positive aspect of where our minds can be. Just embrace things that are helpful. And they've said incredibly funny things to me too. I was there at the park, and they were doing this incredible aerobatics. The 2 of them came. There's one called the 2 that come, and they come in formation. They signal to me, and they send all this beautiful energy. And the 2 were coming down, and then one went directly through the center. And then one of the really fast ones he was probably going 1,000 miles an hour.
Wow. Tell me that's not the greatest thing you've ever seen. Spectacular. Those never-ending visitor friends. Wow. There's my friend. Hey, beautiful one. Oh, my gorgeous friend. You are so awesome. So great to see you tonight, sweet friend. Hey, how are you, brother? Oh, how wonderfully done. You could be a sister as well. Love you. That was perfect. Thank you so much.
When you're in that space, Joanna, your frequencies are connected, so you can trace them. They're invisible to just the naked eye, I'm sure. I'm looking through the camera. At the end of all of this great activity, they said we maxed out our budget on that one. And I thought that was so funny.
That is humorous, isn't it?
Okay. And I get these flashes, and within the flash, while I was filming it, they said our optics are 1,000,000 times more advanced than yours are.
Oh, I have no doubt about that.
A friend of mine, Scott Katamas, go on his podcast a lot, and there's orbs. I always see them with other people. I've never seen one with me before. Oh, that's wonderful. Scott was talking about his mother who had passed, and he had a little teddy bear that was very important to her, and he held it. As soon as he did that, all of these orbs were just flying all around him, and it was just amazing. So there's so much to this, Joanna. I don't understand all of it. It's a mystery, but it's a beautiful mystery, and it's the more that we're open to it, I think the more knowledge and understanding we will have with it. To me, that's the most fascinating part is, we're just scratching the surface at this point, but the potential is so great. There's so much to learn, so much to share as well.
Just going back to Kevin's interview again, that was when he talked about doing what you do, is sometimes working telepathically. They told him about when he feels the music and then he's playing it. They said, weave in images. As you're doing it, weave in the images as well. And I hadn't thought about music quite like that. And he said, and it was another strata of information coming in to the music. And this is what the Ponti were instructing him in. I don't know whether you've had any intense downloads.
Yeah, the piece to all, that piece just was fully formed in my mind, and I just had to kind of just put it down and record it. And that's how so much of the creative part of being a musician is. That's one of the lovely things about it. But what I think, Joanna, is that each of us have something that touches us at that level. We all have something that is very deep, very important, that we've dedicated our lives to. That's what our star family are interested in. They want us to share that, share what's important. If you're a mathematician, do your most elegant equation outside and send it deep into the universe. If you're an artist, create painting outside and show your techniques. And she said, I'm creating this for the universe. And whatever it is that you do that touches you, that's important to you, that puts you in that very special place of creativity, that's the frequency that resonates throughout all the dimensions and deep. That's that quantum entangling where you're doing it here, but it's also equally impressed on the other side of the universe.
Being impressed to share this other experience. I think you might find this fascinating, because when it happened to me, I was blown away because I recognized it instantly for what it was, which was communication. So it was some years ago, and I was doing 2 jobs and I was exhausted. And one of the bosses wasn't very nice. And I was really working on myself spiritually, really trying to anchor, not be reactive, to take it in and just let it go. What I used to do in between the jobs was I would just lie on the sofa. I would put Massenet's meditation on from Thais. It's one of my favorite pieces in the universe. And that would just take me down almost immediately into a lovely, gentle sleep for an hour or 2. Now, I've had sleep paralysis a lot in my life, but I always fight it. I know they say it's a precursor to astral traveling. I cannot let go. I'm telling you that because all of a sudden I'm in the snoozing position. My whole body goes paralyzed again. But this time, for the first and only time, there is absolutely no fear. And I'm observing it. And then like a radio station tuning. And I heard this sort of radio, like trying to find the right channel. The place exploded with this beautiful music that was not exactly the meditation from Thais by Massenet, but something very, very similar. This was external audio. This was not in my head. I realized what it was. I knew this was some kind of communication. And I took it like your hearts, like a thank you for hanging on in there when you could have been different. And they played it. And it was all the time this music was playing, which was glorious. And I was just saying, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love it. And then when they had finished playing, the music faded out or blipped off. I can't quite remember how it ended. It was funny because it was so like the meditation piece, but it wasn't it, but near enough. And then the moment it stopped, I was released. My body was released from the paralysis. And that was it, nothing else. And I just lay there thinking, oh, wow. Okay, thank you. That was just superb. So I wonder if you've had any paranormal music experiences.
Well, I say thank you all the time. That's kind of it. Isn't that just the natural expression when these happen? Is thank you so much. I am so grateful. Thank you for this. Music is with me all the time, and so even when I'm just walking with my dog or I'm at the park, I project music. You know, what I would do is initially I had a little Adirondack chair and I'd sit in it and I would look at like the last star of the Big Dipper, and I would stare at that one star and I would introduce myself and, you know, all the people that are important to me. Then I'd begin all the actions that I do to play the instrument in a position to play classical guitar, and then I tune it because I can hear in my mind where the natural tone of each string where they should be, and then I'd announce the piece that I would play, like a Bach courant, and then I'd start playing it in my mind. And at first it was difficult because, you know, I'd not really played through these entire very complex pieces of music just in my mind, but I've been doing this for so long now. That's what I do. And just as vibrant to them as when I'm actually playing, because it's a crystalline aspect of my spirit that I physically send it deep into the universe. And when I do that, if I'm looking at a particular star, they'll pop in. I can sometimes see a bright flash and they'll pop in. I call it a constellation of intention. And I have different ones on the video I sent to you. One of the two, I was at the park and I'd set up a stationary camera at a constellation. I think it was Cassiopeia, and a chevron of 30 craft came through. And it was just amazing. And then the next night they came in and I thanked them for coming back. And then they made it looked very much like a human shape as they were flying through. And it was just an acknowledgement that, you know, this is all available to us and we all can do it. That's the big message I want to send to everyone, is we all can do it. I hope that I'll be, you know, an inspiration for others to try it for themselves, because, you know, we really need to get away from staring at our phones and watching television and, you know, just kind of mindlessly being observers as opposed to active interactions with things well beyond ordinary life.
And when is the book being released?
A friend of mine is doing the frontispiece, which is a beautiful artwork, and I'm getting that this week. And so I hope to have it up on Amazon by the end of the month.
I have had a quick look through. I didn't get a chance to look through all of it, but some of the graphics are beautiful. And as you say, as an ebook, you can really look at those clickable links, and just the quality of the images are so beautiful, and those heart-shaped clouds, I mean, just stunning.
Thank you. And it's, you know, and I have just a huge collection of them now, and I love adding to them. There's an etherealness to them that is wonderful. I will say I did an experiment when I was sleeping. I was told if you can see the back of your hands while you're sleeping, it'll take you to a new level of consciousness. And so when I would be asleep and I would try to look at my hands, and they would kind of disintegrate like sand. And then eventually I was able to actually see both of the backs of my hands. And immediately I was in this huge geodesic dome with my grandmother, and we're flying on the inside of the dome. I'm not sure what the deeper implication of that was. That was many years ago. And that was another heart opening experience that I had then that I think allows for these kinds of
Yeah, I just got an image there of Buckminster Fuller Dome there.
Yeah, I was surprised, but it was absolutely I've always loved geodesic domes anyway.
Do your family and friends are they as aware?
I've got a number of friends that are very interested in it. Actually become through the internet just by posting videos. I've created an entire community of people all over the world that have become very dear friends. I haven't met them in person, just like you and I haven't met in person, but I consider you a very dear friend as well.
So any other new projects, John? And then just give us some details of contact points for you.
I'm working with The Proof is Out There. I've contracted with them to share some of my videos on the television show, and The Proof is Out There. It's on the History Channel, and I've been on Paranormal Caught on Camera, and they did a really lovely job on a couple years ago, and I was very pleased with that. And so, yeah, that's a kind of a current project. The big one is getting the book out. I'd really hope to have it coordinate with the television show as well. And then such a pleasure to speak with you today, Joanna. We're all working on sharing very important revelations, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. You can contact me at jmartingtr@gmail.com. My YouTube is UFO and ET Intelligences, and my TikTok is John Martin 1779. I've been working on a number of original pieces, and as soon as I get the book published, then I do plan on having a new album that I want to release. There may be a few classical pieces as well, but I've really been concentrating on the music that I perform for the intelligence. It's taken me in a whole different area, but it's a good one. And I think there's a lot of really beautiful music that's been created, because I'm so inspired when you actually see something from another realm, Joanna. It's just magnificent every time. I mean, each one is so special and so unique. There's such appreciation on both sides. To me, that's the lovely thing. They appreciate me as much as I appreciate them. It's a great joy.
Do you know where they hail from?
I don't. And it's just an ongoing journey at this point. I've had so many different kinds of craft. I've had big, huge metallic craft. Like I told you, I had plasma crafts, the purple one, small metallic disc craft. I think they're also curated by the intelligences for each person. So I don't have that knowledge at this point, but I hope to in the next few years. I would love to have a face-to-face meeting with our star family, play music with them. That's kind of a great joy that I would love to experience. Wouldn't
it be an amazing concept to get you and Kevin Estrella together? Now, I'm going to say that Kevin Estrella style is entirely different. It's a metal guitar, so very much of the heavy rock. His Song of Light on the Eclectia album, you can feel this energy scintillating through everything. So the juxtaposition of your two styles working, I can see that could be something really
it'd be great fun.
Unbelievable, actually. I just got the vision of it.
And I do play electric. I play,
right.
I started with Zeppelin and, all of Yes and all of that kind of music, of course. And I love Kevin's playing, and we should get together and play, man. That would be super fun.
God, you know what? I would pay to see that. I think that would be amazing.
That's what I thought with Eclectia too before.
That's what I intend, down the line. I don't know how the pathway is going to develop. But yes, that would be absolutely amazing, John. Because you're both working so deeply and intentionally, I could see that could be something really super unique, John, really incredible.
An open air concert that we give, and then the energies come in.
My God, we have to do it.
That's
John,
what I said.
You know what? You've really just set me off. Comes to pass. God,
just put some energy behind that and make that happen.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what I think too. And If we had a tour and they're all open air concerts. And then one thing, Joanna, is everyone has to be really open to the experience. I was asked to go to a Skywatch, some MUFON people I was sitting very intently and I was sending out. It was a beautiful evening in an open field in Athens, about an hour from here. And they were all talking. There was about 10 or 12 people. And I was projecting very deeply into the universe. And this shooting star effect went right in front of me, very bright. And I said, oh, they're coming. About 4 or 5 seconds later, this beautiful golden, one of the biggest ones I'd seen, plasma craft materialized right above us, and they all freaked out. It was just unfortunate because as soon as they realized that there was people that were upset over the experience, it just dematerialized, and I saw it like at 30,000 feet flying away. So that's kind of a challenge when you try to bring in large groups of people, is that there's so many individual dynamics that the intelligence can pick up on.
Well, I think to create such a concert, part of the publicity and part of the being there would be the intentionality and the likelihood of something manifesting and materializing.
Yeah.
Because I think if you say that straight up and give people an opportunity to be there, everything will be okay.
And another thing too is I don't use any outward tools. I record with a camera, but I don't use lasers. To me, it just feels like it doesn't enhance the experience, but it seems rather rude, actually. That night, there was a number of people with lasers. I said, please don't shoot lasers at them. And they didn't do that, but they did very much get upset. To people that are so open and ready for this, but it would have to.
The PR would have to be part of showing that this is a likelihood, and what an exciting thing. Do you dare be there and listen to this glorious sound? And
absolutely,
experience of what it's been like for you to have these encounters or contacts. And I think this is so important and so valuable and beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. It's joyous, and it's life affirming, and it's the ability for us to ascend into a new level of consciousness and beauty, and that's where we deserve it. We deserve to move into these beautiful places. I'm up for it. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah. You know what? You've really got me thinking now. I'm going to put that on my to-do list, actually. So how can I work this and bring in the funds to do it? I'm going to embrace the abundance. Okay.
There it is. That's exactly right.
So, John, we're just coming to a close, and I have to say, thank you so much. You've been an absolute delight, and I love your energy and your music. Anything else that you'd like to share?
I would say, embrace the uniqueness of who you are, share it with the universe, project outwards. So much of the thought is to go inwards with contemplation and meditation, and that's important to spirit. But when you want to connect, you need to project your own sovereignty into the universe. And when you do that, incredible things will happen. And make it a regular daily practice. And when you do that, incredible encounters and new friendships from all over the universe will be there for you. Joanna, much love to you always. And thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, it's been a delight, John.